We are back. We are minutes away, we think, from the resumption of questioning of today's witnesses, Fiona Hill and David Holmes. We are joined now by MSNBC's Garrett Haake, who is live for us on Capitol Hill. Garrett, what is the plan for this afternoon, and what do the Democrats think they gained from these witnesses, and what, if any, cautions are the Republicans going to take?
Well, Nicole, I think Democrats feel like there's more to be gained from Fiona Hill and her expertise here, particularly on the questions about Russian interference. And I think they're going to want and going to use her as a proxy for John Bolton in a number of ways about what his view was of this entire Ukraine scandal, because it's increasingly clear to me, based on my conversations with Democrats on this committee, that they have no interest in waiting out John Bolton. Here's part of my conversation with Jackie Spear from a little bit earlier. Take a listen.
Do you think this is the last public hearing then?
I'm not sure. We're going to meet as a committee after this. But at this point, we don't have any others scheduled.
We have put together a body of work that can be now transferred to the Judiciary Committee for them to review, and as they determine whether or not to move forward with articles of impeachment. I think we have been hampered.
Democrats are just increasingly confident that they've gotten what they need here. As for Mr. Holmes, I think he has given them about what they expect they're going to get today. So, yeah, I think Dr. Hill will be the focus of most of this afternoon's questioning. It'll be very interesting to me to see how Republicans, if Republicans, try to discredit the two of them. I suspect they will go after Mr. Holmes's memory, and I don't know whether or not Devin Nunes will take the bait here with Dr. Hill or not. I mean, obviously, the two went back and forth in statements where they were, had a significant time in between their commentary this morning. But I'm not exactly sure if that's a fight he wants to have here today or not.
I wanted to ask you about sort of the mood when she delivered in that opening statement a stinging, direct rebuke of conspiracy theories, specifically the conspiracy theory being spread by Rudy Giuliani, echoed by the president's allies, people like Devin Nunes, that Ukraine had some role in election meddling. It's a conspiracy theory that was debunked and revealed by Donald Trump's own Homeland Security advisor, Tom Bossert, who said he ran around the West Wing waving his arms, trying to disavow the president of that because it was a lie. What did it feel like in the room when Fiona Hill brought all this up in her opening statement?
Most of the members were studiously following along on the statement. I was watching Congressman Nunes, who has been, I think it's fair to say, contemptuous of this entire process. He makes no effort to hide his disdain for any of this. I've not seen he and Adam Schiff make eye contact in the last 3 days. He's just been leaning back in his chair, glaring at a lot of the witnesses as this has been going on. And you felt some of that same antipathy in the room here today. But Dr. Hill's comments put Republicans in a tough spot, because one of the arguments that we've continued to hear is that, from Republicans, is that Democrats haven't called enough of their witnesses. I had a long and bizarre exchange with one Republican member a little bit earlier who said they'd called none of them. I pointed out that Morrison, Volker, Mr. Hale yesterday were all Republican witnesses. And this Republican said to me, yeah, but not the ones we really want. What about Ms. Chalupa, the DNC official who worked with Ukraine? I mean, they are hanging their hats on the fact that somehow this additional information about alleged Ukrainian involvement in 2016 would somehow be exculpatory here. It would cloud the waters more, but there's just not enough there. And to the degree to which Republicans are hanging on to that as part of their defense of the president shows you the trouble they're in defending on some of the other merits. I'll just say quickly that, to me, one of the shocking things over the last 2 days has been that it's almost just completely accepted now. Every witness has said that there was a quid pro quo for the White House meeting. Everyone takes this as almost just an understood fact here, that the White House is willing to withhold this meeting until it got investigations. That makes for a very short bridge to what the White House might have been willing to withhold that military aid as well. And there's been no serious effort to undermine that simple fact of the withholding of the White House meeting, which still, as I stand here today, has never happened.
I'm so glad you said that, Garrett, because we all, it is our job. We are paid to stare at the trees and talk about the trees. But the forest that I think was crystallized yesterday by Sondland's testimony is that the military aid and the meeting were conditioned on the investigations into 2016 in Biden, and that was through the regular channel atop which sits Donald Trump, the vice president, the secretary of state, Rudy Giuliani swirling around and contaminating some of it. But that was the policy. Not a single witness, Republican or Democratic, has disputed that fact ever.
No, and I think the last couple pillars of the Republican defense that are still standing to some degree here, and that I think we'll see them fall back on here, are the questions of, does Biden equal Burisma? Here you see career staffers, experts in Ukraine, who are very quick to make that connection, whereas some of the political appointees were a little bit slower to make that connection. So does Biden equal Burisma when in terms of investigations? To what degree is Rudy Giuliani speaking for the president when he's speaking for the president? I think those will be the key things here. And then whether or not the withholding of aid was conditioned on the investigations, or whether it speaks to the president's, long-held concerns about Ukraine. Those are the three things left. I think we will hear Republicans hit over and over and over again as the least weakened elements of their defense.
It's so interesting, Garrett. I know you have to go, but my last question for you is the evolution of the Republican defense. Last week, they seemed to hang their hat on what could have been effective, and that was going after the proximity or lack of proximity to the conduct under scrutiny. They were saying, oh, you're not a first-hand witness. Fiona Hill invoked executive privilege this morning in a moment that had to have sent a shiver down the spines of anyone who was even thinking about making that argument anymore.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. Executive privilege on a question about other White House phone calls she had listened in on. I mean, the question was this unlike any other phone call? And she didn't want to go there, which suggests, at least to me, that it's probably not that unlike a lot of other White House phone calls, which is a whole separate set of problems for Republicans defending the president. I've thought about the Republican defense as like a fighting retreat in military tactics here. So much of the defenses you knew would get overwhelmed later. When Republicans were saying in the beginning stages of this, these were only hearsay witnesses, folks who weren't on the call, we already had the schedule that there were witnesses who were listening to the call who'd be coming to testify in the next few days.
Yeah.
So you have seen, and you could see it coming down the line, this evolution of talking points and evolution of the Republican defense. That's why I mentioned those other pillars, and perhaps the only one I didn't mention left would be the throw Rudy under the bus defense. I mean, Gordon Sondland made it very clear he wasn't going to go down alone. If Republicans decide that the last defensible position here is that Rudy was ordering this and the president didn't know, maybe that'll be the final defensive talking point here, but we haven't reached that barricade yet.
All right, Garrett Haake, we're so lucky to have you up there for us. Come back out whenever you can. We'll always break in and want to hear what you are learning. Thank you, my friend.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.